At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator. We will be having the business panel portion for our event. And I would like to introduce our moderator, Ms. Rose Ann Aragon. Rose Ann Aragon is a proud Emmy Award-winning Filipino-American storyteller with a firm belief in the power of storytelling. She graduated summa cum laude at Illinois for broadcast journalism, working for Microsoft as an innovation storytelling communications manager. Rose Ann's work and purpose resonates with the tech company's overall mission, which is to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. Rose Ann and her team lead innovation, storytelling, and strategy at Microsoft. Inclusion and trust are the pillars of their work. Rose Ann believes there is no single path to building, strengthening, and empowering a community. Voices and stories can create the ripples of change. She's currently leading Microsoft's programming for Level Up, a local program dedicated to improve inclusion, equity, and increase diverse representation in tech, focusing on student development and creating pathways into tech. Rose Ann creates storytelling and public speaking workshops to empower student voices. On behalf of Microsoft, she's also programming for ColorCom, the nation's leading women's platform addressing D&I across the communications and media industries. Rose Ann was previously on the ground in Houston as KPRC2's space reporter, while leading KPRC's committee dedicated to increasing diverse and community-driven storytelling. As a multimedia journalist and fill-in anchor, Rose Ann pursued stories of voices from all walks of life, inspiring hope and humanity. She led her own award-winning series on education and safety and told stories from all over the world. Live NASA and SpaceX's rocket launches, the Tokyo Winter Olympics in Japan, the Astros' journeys to the World Series, and sitting down with the US president on immigration. Her storytelling was awarded a Telly, Lone Star, Edward R. Murrow, and Emmy Award. Rose Ann loves to be immersed in her community. She leads workshops, moderates, and MCs for community nonprofits like APAHA, Hope Clinic, Big Brothers Big Sisters, BAR, and others. Rose Ann is an advisor and former programming director of UniPro Texas, founding its core Lumika Arts Showcase event. Before coming to Texas, she co-founded UniPro Chicago and co-directed FACT, the Midwest's largest Phil-Am collegiate conference. Rose Ann is proud to call Texas her home. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our moderator for our business panelists, Ms. Rose Ann Aragon.
Gosh, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for being here. It is an honor to be here celebrating women inspiring change. Wow, what an event. And as a former journalist and anchor and now innovation storytelling communications manager, I can tell you, I believe in the power of storytelling, and it is an honor to be here today with these resilient, amazing leaders. Today, this business panel is meant to empower, educate, and inspire. You'll hear the stories and voices of these strong Filipino women who have a drive to create positive change in the world, especially for women. They have overcome even the greatest of challenges and found a way to inspire, thrive, and now share their journeys with you. With that said, I'd like to read just a little bit about each of these incredible leaders. I'd also like to give them a chance to speak for themselves and introduce themselves to you. So we have 4 panelists today that will be hearing their powerful stories. And please, if you have questions, also feel free to put them in the chat and I'll incorporate them into today's panel. Okay, so the first is Janice Villanueva. She is a mom of 3, parenting advocate, mompreneur, I love that, teacher, community builder, and founder and CEO of Mommy Mundo. She began her parenting and advocacy work in 1996. Her journey of motherhood, being an expectant mother, looking for resources, took her on a vast journey that led her to creating her empire. In 2003, with the rise of digital and social media, she, with her partner and childbirth educator, Rome Canapi, started the first lifestyle expo for moms of her empire called Expo Mom, and it led to a journey that eventually created Mommy Mundo. Next, we have Annie Nepomuceno. She's the chair of the United Chambers of Commerce, SFV, and the pandemic president, she says, of FACC GLA. As a professional vocalist, voice teacher, and music producer, Annie has performed and produced concerts at the Ford Theaters, the Alex Theater, and the like. She's co-starred with Debbie Gibson in The King and I on stage and was a TV correspondent for Asian Journal. Born in Iowa City, she started singing in the Philippines at the age of 8. She eventually toured globally with the Philippine Madrigal Singers and evolved to an in-demand session vocalist, a cappella choral arranger, and vocal coach. She moved back to the US with her vocal trio and learned the ropes of staging shows themselves. Now she's the managing director of Music Arts International, which produces concerts in larger venues. Our third panelist is Ellen Bolus Edmonds, a certified professional coach, a Growth Wheel certified business advisor, and an Energy Leadership Index master practitioner. She currently works with the City of Portland's Economic Development Agency, Prosper Portland, charged with the Small Business Stabilization Program. With over 25 years of executive management experience in the supply chain management industry, Ellen has been exposed to a multitude of cultures as she traveled globally for work. An integrator and networker by default, she has been a 4-time COO and vice president for publicly traded companies, driving sales teams to achieve revenue targets of over 200 million annually. Had to double check to make sure that that was right. Amazing. And our fourth panelist is Precious Leaño Balulut. And she and her husband in 2013, Alex Balulut, co-founded the Art Relief Mobile Kitchen as a response to the devastation brought by Typhoon Yolanda, the international name Typhoon Haiyan. Since then, ARMK has set up community kitchens in ground zero of disaster areas to cook hot meals for victims of natural and man-made disasters. Precious is a cultural worker, an independent creative theater actor, and copyright advocate. She co-created WISIC, an annual local artist gathering show and tell in Los Baños, Laguna, from 2012 to 2020, and Nothing to Declare, an international exhibition held in 3 exhibition venues in the country. So we can see we have 4 amazing leaders that are here to inspire positive change. With that said, I don't want to talk for them. I would love for them to share a little bit more about their story with you. Janice, I know, there's just so much to tell, right? Would you kindly talk to us about, the mission and vision of Mommy Mundo and kind of how you got started in your work?
Thanks, Roseanne. I'm so honored to be here again with fellow powerful women in this panel as well as in the audience. And thank you, Rowena, for inviting me as well. It's nice to see you again. This is our anniversary from last year. So I really loved you calling my work an empire. I never really saw it that way. So thank you for that. It's so nakakakilig in our language. So just to give you a brief introduction on what I do, besides what was shared already, I am founder and CEO of Mommy Mundo, in the Philippines, and I'm founder of Mompowerment here in Canada, where I moved just 3 years ago, the day before the world lockdown. So Mommy Mundo is a pioneering multi-platform resource and community for mothers in the Philippines. We started 20 years ago, so it's actually my 20th anniversary. And we have been utilizing traditional digital media and events. And to date, we have reached actually more than 1 million moms since. So I always say that the moms who joined us 20 years ago could actually probably grandmothers by now if they had adolescent or teen back then. So our goal is to empower mothers with up-to-date expert-based information, give them support, give them a sense of community, and to help them become better moms, stronger women, and in the process, have them raise empowered kids and families. So I started Mommy Mundo as a new mom myself, and seeing that moms at the time, it was pre-internet. So I kind of date myself when I say my history. I needed myself information and support. And I started organizing talks for pregnancy, breastfeeding, and parenting. And it just grew from there, just followed my passion and my know-how in marketing and media. And it became a go-to platform for moms. We believe that motherhood is a form of nation building. So as moms, we nurture tomorrow's citizens. And every time we empower a mother, we empower her to raise the next generation. And if she's able to do so in the best way possible, then in our way, we are actually changing the world one mom and one family at a time. So thank you for allowing me to be here and share my story. And I'm owning the empire of Mommy Mundo. So
Yes.
thanks, Roseanne.
Thank you so much, Jens. It is an empire, right? You are owning your work, and we look up to you. I remember your wonderful discussion from last year, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Annie, we know you have such a deep history in arts, fine arts, storytelling. I mean, from one storyteller to another, it's an honor to be here with you. Would you kindly share your mission with our attendees today?
Yes, thank you so much, Roseanne. I'm really proud of your work, and I'm so blessed to be in such wonderful company. Thank you. And my personal mission is really representing Filipinos in the best light. And this includes visibility through artistic and cultural presentations, executing concerts with high standards, and conducting myself and leading my organizations with high standards as well. I treat my volunteer and professional efforts with the same degree of passion. No wonder I have no time for anything. And I treat them all with importance in my life. And I really believe that self-respect and respect for others will in turn get others to respect you. And to my amazement, I was given the position of chair of the United Chambers of Commerce of San Fernando Valley. So that is an entire region here in California. And the Filipino-American Chamber of Greater Los Angeles is only one of the 16 members that are in that umbrella. So I just think that it's, it's probably the way I conduct myself and the importance that I give to my work that really brought me into that position. And I really appreciate that I get to represent us, the Filipinos, because I really believe, that a Filipino-American musical artist and Filipino music should be represented in U.S. performing arts centers, and we are not there mostly. And throughout my career, I figured, I know the reasons. There are cultural reasons, timing reasons, and it's just a different schedule and calendar between the U.S. and the Philippines. And even within the United States, Filipino Americans really need a lot of support, especially the musical artists. So I use my platforms in the chambers to actually connect businesses with artists, because I tell them, you always need entertainers. Don't pay them in exposure, pay them in money, and actually, or give them the support that they need. And, if they're introduced to each other, we uplift the entire community.
Yes, thank you so much. Representation is so important. And I think we as leaders, for me, my Filipino roots are such an important part of who I am. I share that at every platform that I get. And it's also the reason I have a family, every city that I happen to move to. So thank you so much. Ellen, I'd love to, your background, you have so much background from business to being a professional coach. Can you just talk to us about, your everyday, when you tell us about the mission that you're trying to accomplish, and perhaps how your Filipino identity, is part of your inspiration?
Thank you for that question. And this is the mission. Let's all live insanely great lives, making a difference every day. Good morning, everybody. I am Ellen Bolus Edmonds, and I am actually a new immigrant in the United States. And it was by accident that I became a resident. I went to the United States in 2016 to study executive coaching. And then I met my husband in May. We got engaged in June and we got married in July. Here I am, right? So it was really not planned, or maybe I did not plan it, somebody else planned it, right? I think it was divine intervention, and I will tell you why. So I've always been in the corporate world in the Philippines. I've been a 4-time chief operating officer for a group of companies, and it's owned by a Boydis group of companies. They're now called Boydis Equity Ventures. I was one of the executive management team members of the Boydis Transport company. And since it was sold to another entity in 2011, I have moved on to still be in the maritime industry. And then because they were so good at what they do, I have never found another company in the Philippines that I would fall in love with. And of course, you know that when you are working, it's very important that you are in love with what you do day in, day out, so that it doesn't feel like it's work, right? So I said, I'm going to be an executive coach because I want to have more people to experience the Aboitiz way of doing things, even if they're no longer with the Aboitiz group of companies, right? And so I went to the United States and studied.
Yung
Okay,
mga
and then,
partners nyo, can you remove from the plug?
oh, somebody else is talking. Would you like to join the
Make
discussion?
sure everybody's please mute. Oh, technology is such a fun thing, right?
I
Ellen.
know. I know. And so when I came to the United States and got married, it was a very humbling experience. I will tell you this. I will not deny this. It was a very, very difficult transition. Nobody wanted to hire me as an executive manager because nobody knows me from Adam, right? I'm a new entrant in the United States, but I was also having a difficult time even getting hired as a manager, because they would say, oh, you'll get bored because it's too low for you if they see my resume. And that's when I established iDare LLC. So here I would like to tell you, and very proud to share with you, that my husband has been very, very supportive. And that's what actually attracted me to him. He said that I was looking for an equal. And Ellen, during that time, I was a little bit depressed. I can tell you that. I wanted to go back home, right? He said, Ellen, who you were in the Philippines is still who you are when you moved here. It did not change. You just need to change your perception. You're still you still want to help. And so I sought my tribe. That's when I found the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce of Oregon. And that was the organization who helped me discover that my corporate management experience can be used in the service of the community. And you can actually monetize it. I was the first executive director of the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce of Oregon. Thank you so much to the board for trusting me with that. And then from then on, we have served over 200 small businesses during the pandemic with $1.5 million worth of technical assistance services and financial grants. We are so very proud of that. And they continue their work up to now. And because of that, it has been really a blessing for me. I have now progressed to serving nationwide. Thank you so very much for the Coalition of Filipino American Chambers of Commerce for recognizing that we need to actually really highlight all of these competent women and men
Yes,
across
yes.
the United States, and put them higher so that we would be able to help more. And so this is why I say that maybe there was really a divine plan that I am here. Because I will admit to you, when I was in the Philippines, I was just really focused on the organizations that I was a member of, smaller, right? And now that I am here, our charge is to make sure that we make the lives of the next generation better than ours. And so our means goals is to really make sure that we have projects that would lift up two economies here in the United States so we can help all those who are back at home. So let's do this, girls.
Let's do this. I love your energy. Thank you so much. With that, using your skills to create an impact. I think that's something that really accurately describes what Precious is doing. Precious, would you kindly share your mission with everybody here who's here today?
Hi, hello, hello.
Welcome. And where are you?
I'm in the Philippines, in Los Baños, Laguna, and it's a 2-hour drive from the city. So we're here in the Bundocks, and it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to be with you guys. I'm scared, I'm nervous, I'm excited, and what a lovely panel. Everybody is so. My sister Janice, I love you, and my sister Rowena, Roque, I love you. I love you guys. So this is a great opportunity for us to tell our story and what we do. And what we do is to actually put together a kitchen. We bring the kitchen to a disaster community. So natural man-made disasters, for example, when a volcano erupted in Batangas, where Mayor V was at the time, we stayed there for 3 months cooking every day, 1,000 meals a day, at least. So that's what we do. And tomorrow we're actually leaving at 4 o'clock in the morning for Mindoro, where there is an oil spill, and we are going to ground zero. And there we will cook 1,000 meals a day for the fisher folk who have lost their livelihood, and to cheer up and comfort people at the time of their most distressed hour. So that's what we do.
Thank you so much. And I want to follow up. Thank you for all you do. And please, if you're listening to this panel, if you have questions, please put them in the chat and we'll incorporate them into our conversation. But Precious, I would like to ask you a follow-up question. The skills that you have, you really thought to make it a way to solve problems. Would you kindly take us back to Typhoon Yolanda? And what was your mindset and your process when you thought, I need to do something?
Okay. So you mentioned in my bio that I did Wisik. It's a cultural event that's just a 1-day sharing of art. So it's a wonderful day for artists to come out and share what they have. And my husband said at the time, but people go out for lunch and then there's nobody else there, right? Because the campus the cafeterias are closed on Saturday. And I was just thinking at the time, the year after when Typhoon Yolanda happened, I went back to the time when the following year, Alex said, let's make lunch, right? For those artists. And we asked 3 artists to cook lunch. And it's a potluck. And those 3 artists were able to feed 100 people. So when Typhoon Yolanda happened, a couple of months after, in November 15th, November 9, it landed. We were pacing our very small living room and really having this feeling that, what can we do? How do we help? And Alex just went up to me and said, can we cook for them? And in my head, what was running is, if 3 artists can cook for 100 people, how many artists do we need to cook for the thousands of people out there? So it's mobilizing artists at the same time that we said yes to each other. To cook for Typhoon Yolanda victims, we we called on our friends, artists. Alex put out the post on Facebook. He said he wanted to cook lugaw porridge, right? And then we, and then the last 3,000 pesos, and we're talking about like $100 here that we had between the two of us at the time. We less than $100, and we just bought everything that we needed to make lugaw. When we borrowed the big pot from somebody, and we brought this small stove from our house, an extra stove, and it was such a strange thing that everything fell into place. That by the time we were able to leave Los Baños, Alex made that call and asked if we can get support. This is what we're doing. If people can meet us there, our friends can meet us there. And the artists came together for us that evening, November 15, when we had no money, but we were able to go to Manila, to go to Villamor with the vehicle, with a vehicle that's full of a kitchen. It has all the borrowed kitchen stuff that we got from our friends, from our neighbors. It was full of relief goods. There were artists there inside. Myself, there were artists, and Alex asked me, "What do we name our thing?" Right? And I said, "Hey, we're artists here. This vehicle is full of relief, and we're mobile. We're in the middle of traffic, and
Wow.
and that's what we did. And this is our kitchen right inside this van.
Yeah.
So that's why we called it the Art Relief Mobile Kitchen. And
It's
that's how
mobile for sure.
It's
I
so
hear the
mobile.
values of bayanihan, everybody coming together. Kapwa.
It also
Yeah.
came together that by the time we kept on cooking and cooking, like we cooked for 22 days for the
Oh, goodness.
24/7. We created this practical big kitchen there. It became a big kitchen from that small stove from our house, right? Where people would drop by and just look at what we're doing and just join. And then chefs would come and they would join and volunteer. And then people would like say, "Hey, what are they doing there?" And then they would come back the following day and they would say, "Here, you need this." And it's a 100-cup rice cooker. And that's how we were able to put together, like accumulate 10.2 tons of food and equipment by the end of 22 days of working at the Villamor Air Base. And that 22 tons of food and equipment, we flew in to Tacloban, Ground Zero. And that's where we started our Ground Zero kitchens.
Gosh, thank you so much, Precious. I really appreciate it. I think learning from just your leadership can inspire us that things can get done. With that, I want to throw it to Janice. I know, Janice, that you did not necessarily intentionally start, I'm going to create a business. It kind of was a process for you as a mom, as I know many on this panel in this event here and conference today are. Could you kind of like talk to us about how you started? And it was a journey, an organic journey.
Yes, true. So Precious, hats off to you and Alex. So yeah, for me, it was the same. It was based on a personal need. It wasn't even like Precious need to help. Mine was a personal need. I was pregnant and about to give birth to my firstborn, looking for resources at the time to just learn about pregnancy, breastfeeding. And there was practically no information available, no support groups. So I decided to create my own. So formed a small group of moms, got a speaker, because I was also an organizer like Precious. I would organize events in school, as well as in my first job. And so I had that logistical drive, I guess. So I put together moms and a doctor to talk. So there were 20 moms, and then it just grew to 100 moms, hotel ballrooms, 500 moms, and then other moms who wanted to help eventually joined me. So I would have a community of advocates, basically. And at the time, there was very little support even for breastfeeding. And we would organize this event called Celebrating Motherhood Through Breastfeeding, where we wanted to uplift breastfeeding awareness in the Philippines, because people wanted to give bottled formula, which is okay. But if you're living from paycheck to paycheck, or if you're already in poverty mode, breastfeeding is the way to go, right? So we wanted to really encourage moms to breastfeed. And through talks and events, we asked celebrity moms to talk, to make it aspirational, to make breastfeeding cool. In one event, after like 5 years of doing the talks, we saw a mom actually breastfeed in the talk, which was at the time not normal. And when that happened, we're like, we made a difference. We're like, whoa, we're getting somewhere. So it was really, like you said, Roseanne, it was one step at a time. As my motherhood grew, like my kids grew, I would add to the events. Like at the start, it was breastfeeding. And then eventually I started doing a kids expo because my kids needed summer classes. So I organized a kids expo with summer classes. And as they grew, I organized events based on my kids' lives, I guess. And the community grew with me. So I would always tell my son, if you were not a difficult baby, there would be no mommy window. So that's like an inside joke that we have. So yes, just followed each step. So that's why I always tell women now, or entrepreneurs who are just starting, that they don't have to start big. You just start with that seed of passion, a skill you may have, a hobby that you do at home, and one step at a time. And it's really like, it'll just lead you to bigger places if you just keep at it. So,
I love
yeah.
that. Thank you. Thank you, Janice. And I want to open it up to the panel. Maybe Annie or Ellen wants to weigh in on this. She speaks about how she was able to start and some of the challenges that she overcame. Annie or Ellen, what's one lesson that you've learned now that you wish you knew earlier in your journey? Ellen, did you want to take it?
No, I was going to say, Annie, go for it.
Annie, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Ellen, you go first.
But yes, what is one, you're all late into your journeys now and really, are so established. But, for those who are in this conference thinking, well, I want to get started. And I don't want to, and I want to be efficient. And what's one advice that you have to someone who's in this panel, either starting their business or looking to get started and may have some reservation about doing so?
Okay,
It's not
I'll
too
start.
late. Yeah, it's not. Oh, sorry. No, here we go. I got to say mine first. So I'll get to you in a second.
Annie and then Ellen. Perfect.
Yeah, it's not too late to start. And I have to admit that I do have some hesitations also myself. Like I don't say that, oh, I did it also, whatever. There's always this fear that it's too late to start. However, you also need to think also is that things change. So sometimes what you started has to evolve in the middle and it feels like you're starting again. So that's the thing. I need to tell that to myself as well, that it's not too late to start. So go ahead, Ellen.
My advice is make sure that you have a personal mission statement. And when you are faced with a difficulty, that becomes your Bible. Because then you make sure that whatever you do is aligned to that. You do not do anything that's not aligned to, like in my case, I do not do anything that doesn't lead me to this, living an insanely great life, right? These are my checklists. I'm going to do this. Will it lead to that? Number two, do I make a difference? Because this is what gives me joy, right? So when you are faced with a difficulty and you want to solve a problem, that's great because somebody else is experiencing that problem. So try to go out there and see how you can solve it for everyone and find a way how to monetize it so that you make much more money. It is not bad to make much more money than what you're making right now. Why? Because good people with more money only do more good. Okay, so your relationship with money needs to be fixed. Some people really find that, oh, I cannot make that much money because it's bad. It's not. Just make sure that with that kind of money, you're going to pay it forward. So again, to recap, align it to your personal mission, okay, so that you do not waste time and you live a joyful life.
Thank you so much, Ellen, and also thank you, Amy. When you go about starting your business and doing your work, I can imagine that there will be some big challenges that come up. How do you handle those challenges personally and professionally so that you can overcome and then keep succeeding? Annie, why don't you start this time?
Actually, one of my mantras is learn to cope. And then the next one is learn to discern. And then the last one is don't suck. So that's basically what I tell all of my students, but the first thing, because really we really have to cope with everything, whether it's success or failure. So it's really learning to cope is one of the things that we need to put first and forward, because like I think it was mentioned before, like when in Oprah they were saying that women or mothers should take care of themselves first so that they'll be able to take care of others. And I do not have any children, but I still believe in that, because like I think earlier in my life I would experience some really, really big difficulties, and then handling it at that time, I think music was my savior. Music was my savior because I was just lucky, I guess, that that's what I did. Because if you did something in the arts or sports or anything that you think, it wasn't a hobby for me, but it's something, I did it professionally, but it's something that you get to express yourself and you kind of like exercise your emotions. That's some sort of either it can be a release or it could be something that will help you focus. And even up to now, I tell my students, especially when we have the kids who have too much homework, I tell them, can you just do your scales or sing your songs for like 5 minutes, then go back to studying? Because the arts and creativity, we also need creative thinking, by the way, I'll get to that. But the arts really like do something to you, whether whether you perform it yourself, whether you listen to it, it does something for that. And I think it really fuels creative thinking as well. And sometimes this creative thinking really is the one that helps us get through things, because these challenges, they're challenges because you don't really know how to handle them when they come at you. And these challenges, it's always different. It's one thing or the other, and it's never the same thing. Because if it's something that you had figured out before, oh, I already know that. But, we all experience challenges because there will always be something that you don't know how to handle. And I think creative thinking is something that everyone should nurture.
Go ahead, Ellen.
I volunteered because what I have to share actually dovetails from what Annie shared. No, and I am a professional coach, and you might be surprised that I will share with you. Even a coach needs a coach. Creative thinking, that's right. But when you are stressed, you need a coach, and a good coach actually does not tell you what to do. A good coach, a great coach, asks you the right questions, so that you find that creative thinking inside of you and actually come up with a solution. You just need somebody to really bounce off ideas with, and that's what a great coach would do. I'm not promoting the coaching profession. I am sharing it from experience. I did tell you that when I came here, humbling experience, suddenly nobody wants me, right? When I was in the Philippines, the moment I say I'm available, I have 3 or 4 job offers. And when I was here, nobody wanted me. I needed a coach. And your coach cannot be somebody who knows you, because that would be very biased. It really has to be somebody else who doesn't really know you, so that all the questions would be objective and that you would really be able to answer it for yourself. Because when you are actually in a very stressful environment, fear is overcoming everything that the solutions would be overcome by fear, and that the tendency of your brain is to protect yourself. So then you don't want to move, because this is my safe space. I don't want to try that. I don't want to try this. I will just cry here. This is safe. I'm alive. Okay. So that's my advice. And you know what? You think you cannot afford a coach? Think of it this way: you cannot afford not to have a coach. Okay. Okay, you go.
Thank Thank you so much. Yeah, so creativity as a way to release, finding help, like a coach, a mentor. Mentorship, I think, is a big one that has, everybody needs a mentor. Everyone needs someone to look and inspire them. Janice, what about you as a mom? How did you use being a mom as not seeing it as something that would deter you, but actually make you stronger and make you better, your identity as a mom?
Yeah, I always say I'm a number one fan of moms, being a mom myself, because we are the ultimate multitaskers. If we, which is not always good, right? But it is a skill, we have to admit. We put passion in everything we do. We are actually the ultimate marketers and consumers. We know what's out in the market. We know what is needed, what needs to be invented. Motherhood actually brings out the creator in us. I guess having kids pushes us out of our comfort zone because we're responsible for other human beings now, right? So we need to evolve to be better for them. So I never thought motherhood was a detriment, although a lot of younger folk now, the new generation, feels it's a detriment. So that's another conversation entirely. But growing up, I always wanted to be a mom. And now that I am surrounded by mothers, I always share that it's a gift to be a mom. And motherhood actually helps us develop so many skills that will make us actually achieve wherever we are. So we're forced to be resilient. We're forced to be resourceful. If our kids have homework and they need the materials now, we will find a way to get it. All these skills are actually transferable in the workplace and in business, or even in leadership. So definitely motherhood is something to be proud of, and can bring us to places.
I'd love to, piggyback off that and ask you, have you ever experienced, as a mother or a woman, any type of challenges because of that identity, discrimination because of being a woman? And if so, how did you handle that?
Yeah, well, in the Philippines, I did not. You know how it is back home, where I guess it's a more maternal, is that the right term? Society, where so matriarchal society, where the women in the Philippines really hold positions. There's always still a limit, but compared to the rest of the world. So here, when I moved to Canada, very mild, nothing major, but there is a difference, like, I guess, in terms of inclusivity, because people now are so hyper aware of being inclusive. Like, people are very careful to talk about motherhood or womanhood. We're very careful to talk women empowerment, because it can also be not inclusive. But no, not luckily, I have not experienced any discrimination so far. I'm not sure if people here in the panel have.
That's a good question. I mean, I want to open that up and let that sink in if anybody would like to talk about their experience. For now, I want to ask a question to Precious. Your work makes us proud. And I know that here in the United States, I'm thankful that there are leaders like you who are constantly inspiring the Filipino community. Can you talk to us about how your Filipina identity is integrated into your leadership? Is it important to know your roots?
It's, wow. I've been thinking about the Filipino spirituality, and that's really part of the identity of the Filipino. And our spirituality, and it's very different from being religious, right? It's being spiritual and treating the other person as yourself. It's in Filipino terms, it's called pakikipagkapwa, where kapwa, the other, is the same as you. You work that into your life to have that other not really an other, because you're the same. Okay, so that's why the protocol of the Art Relief Mobile Kitchen is to serve hot comfort food the same food that we serve on our own dinner table is the food that we serve during our cooking for 1,000 in disaster areas. That's comfort food because that's what we too would eat and that food brings us comfort. So we'd like to, and we ask them, we go to a community and we ask them, we think about their culture, we talk to people. We will not serve pork to a Muslim community. So during the Marawi siege, we served halal. And we even bought a whole brand new set of equipment just to make sure that no pork has touched that equipment. So that's treating the person or that community the same as you treat yourself. Because you would not want to eat something that is against your very being, right? So that's comfort, bring comfort because that is what is needed at the time of, and that's being a Filipino. Pakikipagkapwa is at the center of being Filipino.
It's part of our energy. I always, everywhere I go, my bosses, they always comment, the way you lead, it's different. It's different. And I go, it's because of the lessons and values that I've learned from generations of Filipinos, my grandpa, my lolo, my tatang, the hard work. I always say it's in my DNA that I'm Filipino, and I'll never stop saying that. Okay, so I want to bring it to a question in the chat. And we have one question from Samantha. Miss Annie, what did you teach as a teacher for your students?
Oh, what do you mean? I teach voice and piano. Is that what the question meant?
I think so. I think we can maybe take this a step further and incorporate our previous discussion. We can talk about, what is it that you teach? And maybe if you can tell us, is there a value that you try to teach your students that is inspired by your Filipino roots? So for example, for me, it would be, my grandpa's lesson that you always have to respect people, respect your elders, and never forget where you came from. So since this question is about teaching, what do you teach your students? And then what are some of the values that you teach them that are inspired by your roots?
I think it's more of my unique experience that I can partake to my students. One thing that I always tell my students is that, what you see on TV, radio, these are finished products. You didn't see them practicing since they were 5, 6 years old, 8 years old. And you think that you need to be like that, when you sing in front of your parents or your family, or even in a holiday celebration. I say, no, this is why we spend the time together. This is why we have our regular lessons. First of all, we want it to be a habit for you to see me every week, right? And then when you see me every week, it's like you get this regular thing. And I try as much as possible not to cancel any of my lessons. I will keep those days sacred. Don't schedule anything unless I really have to be out of town. But then because the regularity, because you need that routine. And then that's the time, like you tell yourself, that's the time you have to focus on this thing, which is basically music. So it's playing piano and singing. But I think one thing that my really unique experience is that I always share with my students, because as part of the Philippine Madrigal Singers, we were one of the first batches that started touring again, because there was a time wherein we didn't do competition tours. So in 1989, that was the batch that I was in. We entered 5 competitions in Europe and we won them all. We did not know that we will win them all. Okay. However, but this is the reaction that we had, because we arrived there, little brown people who, and everyone's European or American, big and tall. And then when we sing, it's like we have to show them how Filipinos sing. And I think my mentor, she has passed, but she's National Artist for Music, Andrea Veneracion. She would say that the Filipino is different because we sing from the heart. Okay, we sing from the heart. So when we compete in these European competitions, and that's the birthplace of classical music. That's the music we were singing. Madrigal singers means we sing madrigals, which is a form of Renaissance music in Europe. Okay, so and then we will close the program with Tagalog music, a Filipino music. Okay, so but anyway, she would say that that's what, and then the comments of the judges were, that's the reason why they made us win sometimes, because even if the European choirs were technically perfect, we always feared the Hungarians and the Bulgarians. They have this sound, but then when it came to us, people will be weeping, we would be weeping, and we really don't know what it is, because maybe she trained us to connect to the music to ourselves and how we feel, and then it goes out to the audience. And she definitely said that this was very Filipino. Like even today with karaoke singers, they will say, why do Filipinos sing karaoke like that? It's like depended on it. Yeah, I think it's this quality, and this is what the Madrigal Singers has established in the Philippines. And I was witness to when, after we attend the festival, the Filipinos, the big winners, so we go around just eating, okay, hi, thank you, and then just take pictures. And then one time we had to leave by train from Europe, and they were doing a program for us, and us being college students, sleepy, tired, we just, oh, how nice. Thank you. Thank you. When's the train leaving? I'm afraid my bag might be too heavy. We were like a little bit distracted. So we had to leave in the middle of the program. So when we left, and then we have to run, the train's going to leave us. So we run, and then everyone just started, the entire auditorium started singing Auld Lang Syne to us. And we were going like, what are they doing? And that was such a moment that we were so proud of what we have done, that we have represented our country in that manner. Okay, because whenever we do this, we know it's our responsibility, it's our job to be at top form. However, when we face them, we are Filipinos.
Yes.
That's it. It's just not me and then not choir singer. We are Filipinos, making me cry.
Yes, I felt that too. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so it's like we carry the weight of our country on our shoulders, and we do it by being excellent, top of our form, and representing ourselves in the best light. So that is what I partake to my students now. You have to represent yourself in the best light. If you don't practice, well, you just have to deal with feeling that you suck.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's representing the Filipino you are, which means always being someone who strives to do their best work and to take pride in their work. And I feel what you teach your students.
Oh, thank you.
I wish it's so easy to talk with you all. I wish we could talk all day. But with the last, 4 minutes here, I'd like to invite each of you to take a minute to give your final piece of advice for everyone who is listening here on this conference, and know that it's about celebrating women, inspiring change, and making a positive impact. So let's go in this order. Let's do Janice, Annie, Ellen, and Precious. And again, a minute each if you can. We'll end the session at 11:45. So Janice.
Yeah, so thanks again. I learned so much from everyone here, and I just want to just really celebrate the innate skill and power that we have as women. We always say that we have these gifts, our intuition, our ability to connect with people, our passion, our being natural nurturers. We have to own these gifts and always know that it's within us. Wherever, like Ellen said, wherever we are, wherever we're thrust into, whatever challenges we face, it's just within us. And those are the tools and things we can really anchor on to move through whatever life brings on our in front of us. In terms of, I wanted to also add with Annie's answer to what do we do when there are challenges. It's also just thinking that everything's temporary. While challenges are temporary, even happy times are temporary. So that's what life is. So we just flow with it. And again, recognize that whatever happens, we have these gifts as women, and we have to own it.
Thank
So
you.
yeah.
Ellen?
Ladies, if we treated our friends and everybody else like we treat ourselves, we will be in jail already. Please make sure that we love ourselves first. Do not feel guilty about taking a rest. We need to sharpen our saws. Live an insanely great life. Do not do anything that does not bring you joy. And that's it. Just
I
learn
love
to
it.
love ourselves first, right?
And
Let's
live an
not go to
insanely
jail.
great life. Annie?
Thank you, Ellen, and thank you, Roseanne. Filipinos have the advantage of coming from a matriarchal society, as it was brought up by Janice. But you see, it's because we have the benefit of exhibiting ourselves with self-respect, I guess, more than other cultures. That's just my guess, but don't take my word for it. But that's how I feel. And I think it's the self-respect that we show helps other respect us as well. So that's the benefit of being a Filipina from a matriarchal society.
Thank you. Precious? You're on mute. And you'll take us to the end, Precious.
Yep, I'll do it again. Never give up. Never, ever, ever give up. It's not easy to put together a mission for 1,000 meals a day for people in a disaster area and to live with them in the conditions that they are as well. It takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of determination. And see the gifts that you bring when you're there, because you have gifts to give when you're in a situation like that, and everybody else have gifts to give because they come, the community comes and they help you. In the day that you don't have volunteers, someone will come and they themselves will help you and will help themselves in cooking that meal for themselves.
Thank you. Using your gift to create an impact, a positive impact. That's it. That's all we have time for the panel. Thank you all so much. It's an honor to be here with you. And I hope everyone watching truly took and feel inspired from these stories. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Such an